More often than not, we have the best of intentions, and there will still be things that come up, such as a change in schedule, a challenging behavior, a hard moment at home, or even a simple thought or feeling, which can cause a block in our ability to use our power of intention. When this happens, we tend to get stuck in judgment, which keeps us in our emotional state. Let me illustrate this with a few pictures. On the next few slides, look at the images and think about what story starts to play in your head. So for example, in this first image, you see someone driving in traffic. The story you might have is, "They're so rude," or "I can't believe they think they're better than everyone else." As we look through the rest of the images, try to be aware of the story that starts playing for you. While looking through these images, the stories in your mind, or that come out loud, might sound like name-calling, swearing, generalizing about people's actions or worth, stereotyping, hateful language, or it may simply ruin the rest of your day. This stems from the mental model we have created about the way the world should work, the way people should behave, or through a classroom lens, the way we think children should be able to do things. Everyone has a different set of mental models based on culture, environment, and the quality of early interactions and resources we grew up with. These models have been passed down from generation to generation, both consciously and unconsciously. Here's an example of how a mental model is created. So the other day, I was with my family at an event, and one of the fun things they had at the event was one of those giant jumping pillows in the ground. And I took my 3-year-old niece and my 5-year-old nephew over and watched them jump with the other children. After a little while, a group of older children came over and started jumping as well. This was causing the younger children to fall over and just overall made it harder for them to safely play on the pillow. So we ended up leaving and going back to find the rest of our family. As we came back to the group, my niece said something along the lines of, "The big kids came over to jump, and so we had to leave because we kept falling down." My mom and brother then began having a conversation with each other about how annoying it was that older children didn't seem to be aware of the younger children and how frustrating it was that they had to get off because of it. As we walked to the next part of our day, my niece saw a group of older children walking towards us and said, "Those are big kids. They're so annoying." And throughout the rest of the day, whenever she saw an older child, she repeated this phrase to anyone who would listen. This is an example of how children take in information, even when we don't think they're listening. The interaction between my mom and brother was relatively harmless. However, my niece saw how they handled frustration, listened to their words, and created a simple mental model that matched it and helped her make sense of the way things were. To get some more examples of mental models, finish the sentence in the following activity to discover what some of your mental models might be. For example, the first sentence says, "People who cut me off in traffic are," I might insert idiots, or "People who cut me off in traffic are so disrespectful." It looks very different for every person. As we come back from this activity, I want to make the clarification that having mental models is not inherently bad. We need and actively create and recreate mental models to help us feel safe and make sense of the world. It's only when a mental model blocks our ability to see behavior as a call for help or connect with a child to meet their needs that this becomes problematic.
So let's look at a visual of how this happens. When a situation arises, it filters through our emotional state first, and this brings up a mental model which causes us to see the situation through the lens of that mental model. If we get stuck in that model and see through the lens of judgment, we will react on impulse, usually in an unhelpful or hurtful way. Let's reflect on how this might come into play as we interact with a child. Looking back at the group time image, what was the story you created when we showed the image the first time? For example, stories that might have gone through your head are, "You never listen," "You know better than this," "You're such a distraction," "We do this every day, when are you going to learn?" My guess is, if these are the stories that played in your head, the mental model that you may be getting stuck in is, children should be able to sit on the rug for group time. When we see through this lens, it blocks our ability to access our executive state and intention to help children be successful in our classrooms, which we know is the ultimate goal for you as a teacher. Children need us to be in the present moment with them. Judgment often gets us stuck in the past. For example, this child should be able to sit on the rug. We've practiced it every day for weeks. This lens essentially causes us to abandon children in the present. Right now, we are going to shift to play a game that is going to demonstrate in a fun way some more about judgment and help us learn to build a bridge to see through a different lens.